Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the African Wahala. Thank you for tuning in. You're welcome. On Diaspora Radio International, click on the subscribe button, click on the like button, share the video if you like the content. We are talking about some Nigerian politics today. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the so-called Jagaban, he's ramped up his campaign to become the next president of Nigeria. Now, it's very important that we pay attention to this because the current situation that we are going through, where a lot of us don't have light, water, education, police, security, jobs, we have nothing, okay, as a result of the accumulation of nepotism, corruption for decades, for a very long period. Now we have one of the culprits of those corrupt practices trying to come back and rescue us from the mess that we find ourselves in today. It's insane. Now, Tinubu went to the National Assembly, which is one of the most powerful places in the country if you are trying to get something done. And the National Assembly welcomed him with open arms. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, the head of the Senate, all these guys came together and they were talking to Tinubu. Welcome, sir. You're welcome. Thank you. And then Tinubu gave a speech. In the speech, he was talking about how his dreams and aspirations are to become the next president of Nigeria. That is his lifelong aspiration. Okay, his personal goal in life is to put it on his resume that he was once the president of Nigeria. It's not as if he has any plans to improve the lives of Nigerians or improve the situation that we find ourselves in today. His own job is to become the president, to mark register. That's all it is. And he said it boldly. And that's not the first time he's saying it. And I'm saying all of this so you guys can pay attention. At least if you're not paying attention to Tinubu's past criminal life, okay, and his current criminal life, because he was a criminal from the 80s all the way till this day. He has been a criminal since 1980 something. You know, back in the United States, when Tinubu was an international student, there was a drug dealing accusation leveled against him. Some guys were actually sent to prison. There was an American guy. He goes by the name Andrew Lee. Andrew Lee, I believe, is dead now. He was sentenced to life in prison. And Andrew Lee was connected to Tinubu somehow, some way, because Tinubu, as an international student that was working with a oil and gas company, was able to make deposits into American bank accounts in huge amounts that were not commensurate to a salary. So that brought up suspicions. And then there were two individuals, Nigerians, living in Chicago back in the days. And this story, I can put the link in the comment section for you to read it for yourself. So these guys that were associates of Tinubu, one of them is Adegboyega Aziz and his nephew, Adegboyega's nephew. They were eventually arrested. I believe they did some jail time in the United States. But what had happened was those guys were drug peddlers. They were selling cocaine and heroin, all right? They had a direct connection to Tinubu. And that's where Tinubu's name was first dragged in the mud. Now, there can't be smoke without fire. You can't just tell me that, oh, it's a coincidence. These guys, Tinubu's name got mixed up with these drug dealers, but there is no evidence to point out that Tinubu was a drug dealer himself. But we need to do the math, add one and one together. If Tinubu's associates are sent to prison for drug offenses, and Tinubu was making deposits into American bank accounts in hundreds of thousands of dollars, then that proves that there is something unscrupulous about how Tinubu gets his money, right? Anyways, Tinubu had to leave the United States. He returned to Nigeria. That was back in the 90s. And then they started all this their political campaign in the Southwest region. Eventually, that was how Tinubu found himself in a top political position. Are you following me? Tinubu became the godfather in southwest Nigeria because he was the governor of Lagos from 99 to 2007. During that period, the only thing that happened was Lagosians' lives got ruined further. Lagosians' access to standard of living was completely depleted. There were more agberos on the streets of Lagos, street urchins stabbing people, robbing people. There was more crime in Lagos, and the infrastructure completely dilapidated. While all of that was happening, Tinubu became a multi-billionaire. So if you do the math, the only thing that happened during Tinubu's time was he was able to enrich himself, and there are many evidences. There were evidences that came out with the Alpha Beta company that is owned by Tinubu or is one of the major shareholders, and that company has been fingered in siphoning money, tax money from Lagosians for decades. Okay, so Tinubu has made money through many unscrupulous means. But if we choose to forget about all these things that Tinubu has done in the past, from his drug peddling allegations in the United States to his allegations of collaborating with his private company to steal tax money from Lagosians for decades, which made him a billionaire in the process. Also, his wife, Remy, was somehow put in a position where she became a senator. Someone that assaults people, a rude woman, a lady that has no dignity, no moral, no integrity. She is a senator. So these guys in the Tinubu family, they've made themselves thoroughbred godfathers. But it's our responsibility to refuse them. If we're not even paying attention to the things that they've done in the past, we need to pay attention to what Tinubu is saying now during the time that he's campaigning for politics to be the next president of Nigeria. In my own personal opinion, it's not even my opinion. In a real society, in a real country, a guy like Tinubu, a guy like Atiku, all these guys that are campaigning to become the next president, even Buhari, Jonathan, all of them, they should have never smelt that position of presidency because these guys have committed documented crimes over and over and over again. But for some reason, it's so difficult to have them held accountable, sent off to prison for the crimes that they committed. So they are emboldened to continue committing those crimes, which enslaves us, the people, and makes us angry. It puts us in a position of suffering. It puts us in a position where we don't have lights, we don't have petrol, we don't have schools. ASU is on strike, police is going on strike, medical doctors are running abroad. The entire system is collapsing. The judiciary does not have the capacity to send criminals to jail. It's only poor criminals that go to prison. If you are a rich connect elite and you are a criminal, documented fact, you're not going to go to jail. The complete dilapidation of the entire system is as a result of these political criminals that have been there for the longest time. And now this guy is coming around here today again, that's Tinubu, and telling us that it's my lifelong ambition to become the president of Nigeria. You know what that tells me? That tells me that Tinubu doesn't really give a damn about anything. He doesn't give a damn about Nigeria or Nigerians or himself. He doesn't care about anything. All he cares about is his selfish ambition to mark his name in the history books that I was once the president of Nigeria. And that's exactly what Buhari did. As a result of Buhari forcing himself down the throat of us Nigerians, we are where we are today, dealing with the consequences. Like I said earlier, I'm going to continue reminding us. It's so difficult these days to sleep at night because there is no light and we're in the dry season. So it's dry season, there is no light, there is heat, and these mosquitoes, man, they are like evolving. They are so intelligent. They will fly through the tiniest hole in your net and come bite you. So there is no light. You can't sleep because there is heat. Mosquitoes are biting you, and there is no fuel to power your generator so you can turn on the fan and get some decent sleep. Life is hard as hell. Plus, the money that you have in your bank account, the value has depreciated badly. So much so that a can of Maltina, 33 cl, is 250 naira. One egg is 100 naira. I can keep going and going and going. Life is very, very hard for Nigerians. I mean, bro, we Nigerians, where a lot of us are very delusional. Okay. When we think about other African countries, we think like, man, maybe Burundi. Burundi na trash, Joe. We better pass Burundi. Ghana na mumu. Ghana no get sense. Bro, all these countries that we are comparing ourselves with, their citizens have it better than us. Those countries might not be rich. Okay. Nigeria is supposed to be a rich country. All these other smaller African countries, they might not be rich, but their citizens are definitely not suffering as much as we Nigerians are suffering. But one problem that we have is we like holding on to some fake delusional ideologies that makes us feel good. So we try to belittle other Africans so that we can feel good about ourselves. Oh, Nigeria has the best music. Nigeria has the best movies. We have Davido, Burna Boy. We have big international superstars in music. Nigeria is better than all these other countries, but that's a lie. We are lying to ourselves. All these other countries, they have it better than us. Even Benin Republic, that is right here. Benin Republic, they have electricity. When they have fuel scarcity, it's not as difficult as it is for us. We keep claiming, oh, Nigeria is the father of Benin. We supply Benin with electricity. We supply Benin. If Nigeria closes its border, Beninois' economy will suffer. But the Beninois people are not suffering as much as Nigerians. I wish I could pull up data for you just to check out the percentage of Nigerians that are living below the poverty line compared with Benin Republic. You'll realize that there are more Nigerians percentage-wise that have it worse than Beninois. So there is really nothing to be proud about. Recently, they came out with a global passport ranking. The Nigerian passport ranks below Niger and Chad. That's how bad the country has become. All thanks to the present administration of Buhari and all the previous administrations. Now, are we going to continue this way going forward? We have a Tinubu. He is the most vocal, the loudest campaigner amongst all the current presidential aspirants. And in real life, a guy like Tinubu should be rotting in jail. He is not supposed to be campaigning to be the president of anything. But because of how messed up the system is, it allows people like Tinubu to continue campaigning instead of being in prison. If Tinubu was in China, okay, if all these Nigerian politicians were from China, most of them would have been hung a long time ago. Because real countries like China, even though they don't have a democratic system, I prefer a democratic system, me personally, but that's my opinion. Millions of us have different opinions. Everybody is entitled to his opinion. But the Chinese, even though they do not have a democratic system, a full-blown democratic system, the country still works for majority of the citizens. Majority of the people still have it good. So even though they have extreme punitive laws, like if you are a corrupt public office holder, you are going to be sentenced to death. And a lot of world regions might be crying and complaining that, oh, that is abuse of human rights. You can't just do that. It is working for them. That was the revolution they had to implement at some point in the 70s. Zero tolerance to corruption, especially from public office holders. But in our own case, corrupt public office holders are not only treated like kings. You see them driving around in convoys, 20 cars. All the police officers and military men that are supposed to be protecting other Nigerians are assigned to these private criminals. Then what makes it worse is they are even emboldened to contest for top political positions like the presidency. That's Nigeria. Now, come 2023, Tinubu he hasn't said anything he hasn't said, oh, this is how I'm going to end the insecurity in the country, and this is how I will reverse the dwindling economy. These are my plans. These are my game plans. He hasn't said none of that. The only thing that Tinubu has come out to tell Nigerians is It has been my personal ambition to be the president of this country, and I'm going to talk to all the powerful people to make it happen. But we're all just looking, just waiting. And I'll be honest with you, I think Tinubu is going to become the president. Yeah, it's sad to say. It's depressing to even think about it that way. But I think the guy is going to become the president. If an election happens in 2023, the rate at which things are going, I think Tinubu will become the president. And when Tinubu becomes the president, or if he becomes the president, I hope he doesn't. I obviously hope he does not. I don't want to see Tinubu. I don't want to see Atiku. I don't even want to see a president. The only president that me personally I will support is someone that comes out and tells us that once I become your president, I am going to trash this constitution and come up with a new one using all the powers that I have, liaising with the legislative and judiciary, whatever. Anybody that comes out and talks like that is who I will support. Omoyele Sowore, as much as I love the brother, he hasn't come out to say that yet. Anybody that comes out to say that, that is a political suicide move on its own, because you will get all the resistance. You come out and tell the people that we are going to cancel this constitution that makes it possible for criminals to contest for presidency. This constitution that protects us criminals from going to jail after being corrupt politicians for decades. Nah, we are never going to support that. So if anybody comes out and says, I will trash this constitution, come up with a new one that would allow the people have access to a referendum, a constitution that would restructure the country and allow different regions to self-generate electricity, for example. Anybody that comes out to say that has committed political suicide, but that is the person that I will support. I can't be supporting a guy like Tinubu or Atiku or all these other regular names that are supposed to be in prison if Nigeria was a regular country, a normal country, right? But now they are even boldly telling you that it is my personal lifelong ambition to become the president of Nigeria. Listen, let me play an audio clip for you real quick so you can listen to what it's going to be like a 30-second clip, a dialogue that took place between Tinubu and the National Assembly members.
Into a temporary confusion, but thank God.
That's the voice of the Senate president.
It is over now. It is very clear that our party is back on track in the affair of fighting for APC to continue to be the ruling party in Nigeria justifiably. So, Your Excellency, we are with you. My ambition.
So that was Ahmed Lawan, the leader of the Senate. He's talking about the ruling party in Nigeria. Unfortunately, a criminal organization is ruling the political space in Nigeria, and PDP is not excluded. APC is a criminal organization. PDP is a criminal organization. Ahmed Lawan is saying, our party will support you, Tinubu, because you're a party member, obviously. And it is our ambition to make sure that APC remains the ruling political party in this country. It's not our ambition to improve the economy, the security, and the standard of living of Nigerians. It is our priority to make sure that APC, regardless of its performance, remains the political party ruling Nigeria. So what that tells me is that these obvious thieves are just selfish. All they care about is themselves, what gives them the access to money that they've had, and what gives them access to power. That's all they care about. And it's left to us to reject it through any means necessary. Even if you're just talking about it, or you physically go out there, you gather yourselves and you protest, that's a way. Or you take them to court. There are many lawyers these days that are filing many multiple cases in different courts all across the country to stop this criminality from happening. Some are filing court cases against the election. They don't want the election to go ahead because the election is premised on the constitution. and the constitution is a fraudulent document that is made to enslave the people. So even though we know that the judiciary is weak and it only supports rich politicians, poor people don't get justice in Nigeria, right? But it's still an effort. Even if you try to go through that weak judiciary system that only supports the criminals, you might get some success. And we've seen it happen in recent times. I can give examples, but I don't want to digress too much. Lawan just proved once again in this video that they don't give a damn about Nigeria. They don't give a damn about Nigerians. And they don't even give a damn about themselves, if truth be told. Because if they did care about themselves, they would try to fix their homes. A lot of these politicians, they can't even go back to their hometowns. A guy like Ahmed Lawan, I'm not even sure where he's from, but I'm pretty sure that he can't go back to his village without a long escort of police and soldiers and security men, because he will be afraid of bandits. That's why I said people like this don't care about themselves. They don't care about their children. They think they care about their children because they steal money. They get paid ridiculous amount of money. These senators, these House of Representative members, they get paid 1 million naira per day, 30 million naira per month. And that is just basic salary and benefits. We've not talked about the illegal contracts that they award themselves all the time that makes them multi-billionaires. Now, all that money that they've looted, which has created an uneven distribution of wealth in the country, where 99% of the population is struggling, 1% is enjoying. And that's why we are angry. That's the pure summary of Nigeria. The money that they stole, the 1%, they use that money they give their children the money, go and school in America, go and school in the UK, put this £50,000 in your bank account for your pocket money per semester. When you're done, come back to Nigeria. I'm going to put you in a good parastatal where you can get a good job, good money, and you have been taken care of. To them, it looks like they care about themselves. But if they really did care about themselves, will they not be trying to create a secure environment for their children? Those same children, after they school abroad and come back to Nigeria, they can't go back to their villages by themselves. Gone are those days when Nigerians, especially in the north, okay, even in the south, it's that way these days. You can't go back to your village without properly planning for security. You are even afraid to drive along the roads because you might get kidnapped on the way to your village. So if these idiots that call themselves senators and House of Rep members really cared about themselves and their families, they wouldn't create a society where they are afraid to go back to their hometowns. But don't let me digress too much. Listen to what Tinubu had to say to the House of Representative members and the Senate.
It's not blind to the extent that I will step on his toes. I just want to step into his shoe and not on his toes.
Tinubu is talking about Buhari there. We all know that Buhari is oh my God, it's a curse to mankind. Sorry about that. So we all know that Buhari is a major problem, okay? The guy, bro, I'm even thinking about it. How did Buhari successfully convince Nigerians? Me, I was not convinced, but I'm thinking about it now. It's a combination of factors. There was the fact that Jonathan was an extremely weak, clueless president that brought suffering upon Nigerians. And he was also a thief. His wife was a thief. His administration was rife with corruption. The only good thing about Jonathan is that he has some humanity. Jonathan is not the kind of guy that will kill you for his political ambitions. That's the difference between Jonathan and all these other guys. But to say that Jonathan himself was a saint just because Buhari is a devil, that's a lie, okay? Just cut it out. So the factors that made Nigerians fall for Buhari's trick is number one, They saw him crying multiple times when he was campaigning and failing and campaigning, wasting his money. The guy was crying, "Oh, I want to become the president so bad. Please help me. I want to become your president. I would solve the insecurity. We'll build one refinery every year. Medical tourism will be a thing of the past." Anyways, Buhari reneged on all those promises, right? But Nigerians fell for the trap because they were frustrated with Jonathan and they allowed their emotions to be goaded by a crying terrorist in Buhari. That's what happened. Now we are at the same juncture again, where a Tinubu, the guy is obviously sick. He has health problems. He has a long criminal track record. Tinubu's existence is a detriment to millions of lives in Lagos. Tinubu has been a political godfather that has put in his boys in strategic positions to such an extent that his boys are beginning to perpetrate the same level of impunity. You saw what happened with his MC Oluomo recently. The guy was suspended from NURTW and then he started threatening the national body, whatever. During the NSARS campaign, Tinubu was fingered as one of the people responsible for organizing the murder of Nigerians. He ran away. He went to France, then England, then came back when the smoke cleared out. When everything died down, Tinubu came back to Nigeria and was like, "Yeah, I'm back. You see, I didn't go anywhere." Then he started his political campaign. Now, some people are saying Tinubu is just an early bird. He is one of those desperate campaigners. That's why we are all hearing about his campaign, traveling all over the country, going to meet Obas in Southwest, fake Obas, by the way, because those traditional rulers, majority of them are collaborators with the political office holders to keep all of us enslaved. I have no respect for none of them. Traditional rulers, political rulers, religious rulers, and you should do the same. You should not be respecting people that want you dead, people that want you to remain slaves, okay? People that want you to remain in poverty while they are living in affluence so that they can control you. Man, it's hard to get a live stream on, I tell you, man. Yeah, as we're saying, the same people that want you to remain beggars and slaves to them, you should not have any respect for them. I'm sorry, but I can't respect any traditional ruler that wants me to remain a second-class citizen. It's not going to happen. So Tinubu is collaborating with these guys. He goes to the northern part of Nigeria. They have different crises. He's paying money, 50 million naira contributed to this market in Kebbi or Katsina or wherever for a fire that burns down a market. He's just trying to make himself relevant. Then he takes it to the pinnacle, goes to the National Assembly. The Senate, okay, the Nigerian Senate used their Twitter handle. Check this out. The Nigerian Senate uses its Twitter handle to publicize Tinubu's presidential aspirants. If that is not a conflict of interest at its highest level, I don't know what else it is. This is like saying, you know, they hate Sowore. Okay, they hate Omoyele Sowore with a passion. The guy is a thorn in their flesh. So imagine Sowore goes to the National Assembly and says, "I want to have a conversation with you guys." And then the National Assembly gives him a listening ear, and they use their resources to publicize his presidential campaigns. That's exactly what was happening with Tinubu. You know, that's never going to happen to a guy like Omoyele Sowore, because Sowore tells them to their faces that, "Listen, you criminals are going to go to jail when I become president." But for me personally, I love Sowore, okay, but to be honest, I don't even want him to be the president, because if he becomes the president, he's not going to succeed. Nobody can succeed as the president of Nigeria. If you become the president, you will tarnish your reputation. All the human rights activism that you've been building over the years, Once you become the president and people are still suffering and dying, all that human rights activism goes out the window. Nobody would care anymore. They're only going to remember you for making them suffer. And it's almost impossible at this point to save Nigeria if you don't, for one, throw away the constitution completely. Throw it away. It's not about amending the constitution. Take that constitution, throw it in the garbage, then bring a new one, a new constitution that will have the input of representatives from different groups all across the country. Not a constitution that was given birth to as a result of a military decree. That's unfair, man. You can't just have millions of people, hundreds of ethnic groups living together in one unitary system. Now we have no light. Imagine national grid collapses twice in 24 hours, twice in 48 hours. If Bayelsa, with the abundant natural gas that exists in Bayelsa, had somehow tapped into that resource and harnessed it into generating electricity for Bayelsans and rivers and cross rivers, today the issues of electricity would have been solved to a large extent. If Shiroro in Niger State, where they have the hydroelectric power station, had tapped into a lot of those high flowing tides and generated electricity for some communities in that area, today the issues of electricity would have been resolved to a larger extent. But today, in 2022, obviously the fake giant of Africa, we still don't have lights, generating 1,900 megawatts of electricity. We have no gasoline. You can't sleep well at night because there is heat, there is mosquitoes. Plus, you're afraid of security. You're sleeping with one eye open. And then when you fall sick because you are bitten by mosquitoes and you have all these other diseases, you go to the hospitals are trash. You find Nigerians, which is the craziest indicator to me. You find Nigerians, grown men, talking about, I want to go and fight the war in Ukraine. I would rather die in Ukraine than continue living in this country. That speaks volume, the amount of frustrations that Nigerians have been through. So we have to reject Tinubu by any means necessary. That's the bottom line. Not only Tinubu, we have to reject Atiku, we have to reject all these other old faces. Anybody that has been there, that has contributed to the mess that we find ourselves in today, we have to reject them by any means necessary. And if we don't reject them, like I have been explaining earlier, we see where we are today without anything, right? We have nothing, absolutely nothing. We're like beggars. We're like slaves in our country, okay? We're like slaves, then the political elites, along with their religious and traditional elites, they are the kings, while we, the people, are second-class citizens or slaves. And then this is what we have to deal with every single day. Okay, the tweet says, resist the hardship. No light, no fuel, no food, no school, no road, no security, no jobs, no dignity. If we don't reject this wicked thug, this old bedwetting thug, Tinubu, and his colleagues, Atiku Abubakar, that one that this motherfucker ran away from Nigeria. He lives in Dubai. Atiku Abubakar literally lives in Dubai, bro. Atiku Abubakar lives in Dubai. He was the vice president for 8 years. He ran away from the country after making billions of naira, maybe dollars. Remember, one of the most lucrative business paths in Nigeria is the political dimension. So Atiku became a billionaire after being the vice president and the comptroller general of customs, whatever. After all of that happened, more Nigerians became poor, more insecurity. Then the wealth shifted to the 1%, the political class and the religious class and the traditional class. After that dynamic took place, Atiku Abubakar went to Dubai, bought a mansion, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, lives in the mansion, in a comfortable life. He opens his window, he's looking at the seaside. He has a clear view of the oceans. On the weekends, he goes to what's that big building in Dubai where rich people go out there to chill. He goes there, chills, plays golf. Sometimes his family members and his friends they come visiting. He takes them to the Great Dubai Mall. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on shopping. Your money that was supposed to have gone round, to have improved the lives of the people. One individual spending all that money. And then, after living in Dubai, escaping from the mess that he created, he comes back a few years later. He only comes back when it's time for election. And he says, I want to rescue you guys from the mess that I put you in. This is the logic right here. I want to save you from the mess that I put you in. And that's why it's important for us to, in a loud, unified voice, reject all these criminals, each and every last one of them. In a normal society, these guys are supposed to be in prison. Okay. But we understand the Nigerian institutions have been destroyed so much so that a terrorist can become the Minister of Communications and there is nothing anybody can do about it. You remember when Ishaq Pantami was exposed for being a jihadist Salafist, a killer, someone that wants any Nigerian soldier that kills a Boko Haram member to be beheaded. That's Ishaq Pantami's dream and aspirations. When all those audio evidences and video evidences came to surface, and Nigerians were calling for this guy to be investigated and sacked, the presidency came out and defended him. And ever since, nothing has happened. So we have a country where criminals are the leaders, the regular citizens are the victims, and the regular citizens are becoming more like those leaders. So we have an entire society of crime. And it's only natural for crime to increase in any society when there is a scarcity in resources. When people are finding it difficult to eat, you're finding it difficult to purchase the same food stuff, okay, that you could purchase a year ago with the same amount of money, but the value has diminished. So you have 500 naira in your pocket, it can barely feed you, okay. When you have such a society, resources are scarce, criminality will increase because people have to survive and they will do whatever it takes to survive. And that's why these days we're finding younger people killing themselves for rituals. You're finding kids as young as 12, 13 talking about, oh, I want to be a yahoo boy. We just have a crazy country right now, a very crazy, unsafe, insane country. Insane. If Tinubu becomes the next president, trust me, oh my goodness. I don't even think this whole thing can hold on for much longer. This whole mess that we find ourselves in today, I don't think it can last for much longer because the destruction is so deep that it'll take a very, very long time to reverse the damage that is done. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Starting with the election coming up in 2023, if the election happens, because right now there is a good chance no election is even going to take place. But if the election happens, the rate at which things are going, it seems like another criminal is going to be the president, okay? And he's going to further put us into more pain and suffering. And there is nothing you can do about it. Tinubu that is telling you today that it is my personal lifelong ambition to be your president. What do you think will happen to you when you go out there to protest in 2024 about further hike in fuel price, further depreciation in the value of the naira? When you go out there to protest, or you go out there to protest Nigerian students, right? ASU is on strike. ASU has always been on strike for the last 30-something years. Now you go out there to protest in 2024 saying ASU has to go back. Hey, government, we the students, we have always not supported ASU because we thought ASU was our enemy. But now we realize that you, the government, you are the enemy of ASU and you are also our enemy. You are the common enemy. So we are joining forces with ASU to get rid of your corruption. Tinubu is going to unleash soldiers to kill people because he doesn't give a damn. You are trying to ruin his personal ambition. You are trying to derail his plans. to put it on his resume that he was once the president of Nigeria. And if you're trying to do that, it's going to unleash more soldiers and DSS and police to kill everybody. Man, with all of that being said, I'm going to be signing out now. Thank you guys for tuning in to the African Wahala. Make sure you reject these guys, okay? That's my job. My job is to continue reminding us about the consequences of having these criminals that are supposed to be in prison rule us, okay? It has depreciated the value of a Nigerian life. It has depreciated everything about Nigerians. These days, it's even difficult to sleep. I'll keep on saying this. Maybe that will trigger something in you. You can't sleep at night because the weather is hot, right? So the weather is hot, it's dry season, and you can't sleep because there is no light. Now, if there was petrol in the petrol stations, you would have gone there, bought petrol, put it in your generator, and turn on the fan. And maybe you can get some decent sleep for the night. But there is no petrol too. So there is no light, there is no petrol, you can't sleep. Then you go and sit down on your fence so you can take fresh air, right? So you don't die of heat stroke. And then police officers come out of nowhere and they round you up, take you to a police station. They say that, oh, we are raiding. There were reports of armed robbers in this area. We are raiding. Bro, life is so hard for an average Nigerian, man. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.